So my name is Renaud, and my title is this big mouthful, Chief Architect of Network Commercial Environments for the Cisco Technology Center. So a couple quick definitions. Network commercial environments for us is, if you would, age of an avatar, or age of the avatar. It's things that fall into this realm of virtual shared spaces, network commercial environments for us. Cisco Technology Center, also, not because I want to give you a word chart of Cisco, is our incubator group. It's the part of the organization that takes potential opportunities like this and turns them into real good businesses. So we turn possibilities into probabilities. And the reason I say that is because, and I'm very, very happy to be able to say, I'm not trying to sell you anything today. I have no products. I have no product announcements today. So there's not going to be a sales pitch here. This is, let's talk about the industry, let's talk about how we can make this thing grow and have it be an everyday tool that we can all take advantage of. Because I think we can all see direct application of this, not only as individuals, users for personal reasons, but obviously also for business reasons. So, sorry about the long introduction. I do have other slides. 1 billion people on the planet, right? Whoops. 6.5 billion people. 2.3 billion of which have mobile phones. There are actually, I think last time I checked, 3 billion SIM cards out there, so it's sort of like how many avatars are human. There are actually 2.3 billion people with mobile phones, so that's not bad. That's about a third. That's a good number, and that's great penetration. It took off in a really short period of time. If you contrast that, there are about 1.2 billion people on the planet with internet connectivity, 1.173 according to internet stats. So that's not a bad number either. There are a number of people like Tish, I saw taking pictures of the Isle a moment ago, who are really trying hard to get this into other parts of the world, so this could be more like 2 or 3x that number. And we've seen a lot of development in India and China recently, driving that number up. So obviously this number is going to radically go up a lot faster than it has if you really growth curves are going to increase. This right now, combined with the 2.3 billion number, if you match those together, and there's a lot of overlap obviously because all of us are on the internet and have mobile phones in this room, if you would, that's the addressable market right now for people who enjoy virtual worlds. And I think we have an opportunity to actually grow that much, much larger and make this much more applicable and connect communities as Renaud alluded to in class. I apologize for all the handwriting. How many people had accounts or still have accounts? Okay, I still got a well account. I love well. That's a conversation still. So, is anybody here not familiar with these folks? These were the alternatives to create these communities to connect with other individuals when we all had 300, 400 lot rooms. BBSs, things like Genie, CompuServe, the stores, Prodigy, and everything. Prodigy folks in the room, and point out anybody in particular. The ones that still exist that are on this list are the ones that actually said, look, I can have a community. I can have a small village of people, maybe a few 100,000 or something like that. But I can't expand to meet the millions of people that are coming on the internet. Experiences virtual environments. Okay? But we're at the same stage. We're at that inflection point where we can decide, are we going to go the IM route? And everybody here, or people that are not represented on the slide, do we want to be the one company that tries to be the beta for the industry? Or the one IM standard, of which we are still not there? Or do we all want a piece of DHS? We want to be like email and take advantage of that network effect and say, now I can communicate with the entire world. And I think an important distinction is that doesn't mean we need to have one platform. It just means we need to have interoperability and exchange between them. Because I don't want to drive my Jeep in the World of Warcraft. I'd like to actually maintain my suspension of disbelief when appropriate. But I would like to do simple things like have a common identity. So I don't have to have my avatar and his stuff here, and my avatar and his stuff here. Because of the switching costs, for me as a user, or let me just blow this way up. Back in the days of CompuServe and Genie, if I was safer, the conversation I had to have was, do I want to be a Genie, or CompuServe, or AOL? Which one of these is going to allow me the best return on my investment? It isn't all going to go to the web. There's too much genetic diversity in the world. There are too many different use cases to have one size fits all. And apologies to everybody if your business model is founded on something other than that. because there are times that I don't want to take 5 minutes to go to a virtual world just to tell Randy that I work with a particular message. I just want to send him an IM or pick up the phone and call him, even though he's in the world. I want to be able to bring him. Right? These should not be discrete silos. It should not be someplace I go that eliminates my connectivity to all of the rest of everybody I know who's not online. And all of the resources that I have available to me with the internet. All right. So the examples here, just different tools for different jobs. Just Cisco ourselves, so self-illustration. The top one is a partner connection site that we put together to start a trade show for our channel partners to talk with our application service providers and find out about each other. So it's a matchmaking service registration. Okay? And it's web-based, and people can get on and they can do it, they can get out, and it's very lightweight, meaning gets the job done right over the job. David's doing it. What you see here, if you can see the slide, it looks a little bit like a Hall of Mirrors. It's David, avatar, and then David. The avatar is his avatar, Austin Auger. David is holding a Palm laptop, or a Palm top, if you would, running the Second Life line. And it is, we're working with G Labs in Italy and David's team at the SGI. And what they're doing is they're actually doing Wi-Fi location triangulation, where he is physically in the building, and then putting his avatar there in the virtual version. We don't have to be as good as a physical interaction. Obviously, as much as we can approximate this live, and right now I'm talking at you, not talking with you, but if we were talking with each other, we want to try to get as equivalent to that as possible in a virtual environment, for that magic of physical proximity. But we often overlook, in a rush to get that good, to make my avatar look that pretty, we often overlook the things that we do that are better than, that you can't physically do in the real world, that you can do in the virtual world, like augment the meeting. To have relevant data pushed into the meeting based on what it is that you're talking about, or the interaction. Have the metadata floating around. So this is an important thing. We can do better than real world meetings. And that will in many ways compensate for the things that we can't do good at, like reading your body language and things like that. Really brilliant. So Nick it does this among other things in Metaverse, including the Metanomics series that he does with Professor Robert Bloomfield, who's sitting right over here, who, I think I cut your ear off, Robert. I'm sorry. Very Van Gogh of me. These guys do a really great Metanomics series, and they had Dan Miller, right, from the federal government in a couple days ago, talking about taxation of virtual worlds. So they're doing really substantive conversations in the virtual environment that a lot of people get a lot of value from. So these two gentlemen step forward, and they're going to be launching, they're going to be working on the Metaverse Market Index. Okay, so what this is, in shorthand, is if anybody in here has a Wall Street Journal, please turn to section 2, open up to the third page, you'll see a bunch of New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ listings, a bunch of stocks with a bunch of numbers next to them that are US dollars and percent change. And that's the common denominator. And we all agree on common semantics and a common process by which that number is determined. But there's some work going on with people who, for example, the open identity work, the open ID work that I mentioned is a good example. And if we could do this, nobody asked if we should do this. The other quote is, life finds a way, which is the common platform argument. Tom Malone, Center for Collective Intelligence. A number of you might have read Future of Work. Tom's a really brilliant guy. Works a lot with Byron, another brilliant guy who's in the audience. And he founded the Center for Collective Intelligence to look at things like prediction markets and the wisdom of crowds and things like that. So we're very proud to say we're a founding sponsor of the Center for Collective Intelligence at Cisco. We're working on a project with Tom, and we encourage all of you to participate. And Tom is going to look into how, when you have a virtual campfire, a virtual shared community across these broad geographic boundaries, what can we do for wisdom of crowds in that setting? What can we do for collective intelligence in that setting? What do I gain in that sort of interaction? Because of, for example, getting more inclusion, more geographic diversity, more cultural diversity. And then what do I lose because of the human intimacy? And what can I do as far as getting a collaboration? I don't want to create a new me every time I go to Amazon or Second Life or Netflix or there or whatever. That is a physical manifestation of walled gardens.